Last time on Lightlark, Oro took Isla to see a ghost who wanted to possess Isla's body, and we're all fine with that. It only lasted about 10 seconds. Isla went to Oro's library, but her MacGuffin wasn't there either. Isla had to go to a ball where she danced a little but mostly got horny for Grim. Grim gave her a magical booty call summoning necklace after some heavy petting. The castle started to fall down because Oro was dying, but Isla yelled at him and he got his act together. Oro and Isla went to visit some bug men. They found nothing and the bug men never come up again. Oro was injured, so she dragged him into a cave to self-heal, and so they could bond by playing the question game. Oro and Isla came upon some oracles encased in ice. They talked to one, and she was vague and useless. Isla checked on her mentors/torturers, and they are not doing well. This made Isla decide she needed to tell Oro her secret after all. Oro randomly decided to tell everyone that he's looking for the heart, and also that Isla has no powers. Just jumping in real quick to let you know that I've done it. I've written a fan fiction of Lightlark. Light on the fan, heavy on the fiction. Anyway, you can go to my Wattpad or my AO3 to check it out. It happens right after the events of the previous read-along and right before the events of this upcoming read-along. And we're back for more of this book. I was driving around today because I needed to go into town to get some horse grain. I was thinking about this book because, driving around, bored. And I was thinking, I've done a lot of critiques and I've also had a lot of critiques as an author. And I was thinking about, could I save this book? If I was critiquing this book for someone else, do I think this is salvageable in the state it's in, with so many random threads, so many scenes that just sort of end, such shallow everything, characters, plot, world building, everything is so shallow and scattered. It feels so scattered. It feels like you need to take a broom and sweep up all the elements of this book. I feel like this is pretty close to being a book that I would tell the author, I would encourage the author, hey, set this one aside. Write something else, maybe come back to this, is my nice way of saying this ain't it. And I say that as someone who has had a couple of books that got the same treatment, that I decided, this ain't it. Two that come to mind that went through the beta phase, and after I got the feedback, I decided, you know what, this book is super flawed, and while I think with major rewrites I might be able to save it, I'm just not feeling it. And so both of those books have been set aside. One of them, at least one of them permanently, the other one maybe permanently, or maybe I'll go back and try to do major rewrites. But if you're wondering what those books are, full transparency, Diary of a Demon and Dragonfly, which is the sequel to The Wolf and the Hawk. Both of them on potentially permanent hiatus. Diary of a Demon, 100%, I'm never going to come out. It's on my Wattpad if you want to read it for free, but I don't think I'm ever going to try to make anything of that book that will cost people money. So yeah, as somebody who has taken a book that I have seen, after people have critiqued it, I have seen, there's too much wrong with this book. I don't feel that I can fix it or that I want to expend the energy in fixing it. As bad as it sounds, and I mean this not in a mean or nasty way at all, there are books that we just have to set aside. Alex, this one. Set this one aside. Don't publish it. I would say to her, if she had not already published it, that's what makes me so mad, is that the publishing industry grabbed this up. They didn't care what condition it was in. They didn't care that it's nigh unreadable, quite frankly. I haven't found any typos yet, but to me, that's the least important thing. I'm mad about the publishing industry, and I'm mad that I have had traditionally published authors, or even more specifically, people who are trying to become traditionally published, lord it over me because I'm an indie and be like, if I become traditionally published, that will mean that my books have passed some kind of test of skill. My books will automatically just be more skillful and better than yours because I got traditionally published. Friends, I think it is time to completely eliminate the myth that traditionally published books have any kind of quality assurance whatsoever. It is all about what a publisher thinks they can sell, and that's the end. That's it. And we need to stop pretending that just because it was traditionally published, it is automatically better than anything that you will find in the indie publishing scene. Now, I want to be clear. There are plenty of self-published books that are shite. But there are also plenty of traditionally published books that are shite. And we need to stop pretending that traditional publishing is an arbiter of quality in the slightest. The best that this book has is that somebody went through and got rid of the typos. Like, other people, you may disagree with me. The people who love this book, they'll disagree with me, but if I was critiquing this book, which I am, but it's too late to save it. It's been published, it's too late now. No tea, no shade if you are trying to become traditionally published. I still might someday try again to be traditionally published, but if you're feeling smug for any reason because you're trying to be traditionally published, you need to stop that right now. Stop that right now. This has been Julian's mom lecture. All right, now that I've eaten up a substantial amount of time into this video, when I'm trying to be more concise, Chapter 39 is called Promise. Not The Promise, just Promise. They knew, all of them knew, the secret she had kept for her entire life, the reason she had been trapped inside her room, the one thing that would make her the #1 target at the Centennial, because Oro had told them. I get a character reiterating something in her head because it's stressing her out, but it feels like we're being reminded of something that we literally just read 1 page ago. And even if we took a little break, which I did, I don't think we need the reminder because that's kind of a major plot point. And if you feel like you need to remind your audience, maybe it means you need to go back and punch this up in the previous chapter. Oh, hey, we have Grimm! We have Grimm's last minute power! There's a train outside, don't mind the noise. 1 minute she's in the room with all the leaders, and the next minute she's outside on a beach with Grimm. And she's like, how? And I'm like, what do you mean how? Like, I assume he used his, powers to pass through all of the surfaces until they got down to the beach. But no, it's his flair, his super secret power that, the author was just waiting to pull out of her back pocket at any given moment. Teleportation. He can also teleport. Everyone can teleport and nobody's using it. Also, this makes him 10,000 times more horrifying because he's an invisible man who can teleport and clearly has no compunctions about just being in your room. So I don't know why he's ever a love interest because he is horrifying. She thinks he risked his flair being found out, but he can turn invisible and pass through solid objects. So for all everybody else knows, he turned invisible, grabbed her, and walked out through a wall. Ooh, we get a hint here. I knew that you were never bound by the curses, Grimm says, which implies to me that Isla, because she's not bound by the curses, should be allowed to fall in love by the lore of this book and not have to kill her lover. Hi.
Okay, so
Reading more terrible book.
enjoy your terrible book.
Mm-hmm. All right, so she and Grimm have a romantic moment on the beach. She's all sad. She's like, I'm broken. I'm the monster. She thinks to herself that she's the monster. And I'm like, oh my God, you're so melodramatic. The author's trying really hard to make us sympathize with this girl because she doesn't have powers and that makes her feel broken. And it's like, that would be great and all if you hadn't been able to handle every single situation that came your way, except for the couple of times that you and Oro went to places where you would not normally go. Like, you're not going to encounter, you weren't trained at all to encounter giant thorns or insect people or a ghost lady that can possess you. Like, that's kind of hard to train for. But everything else, everything within the Centennial, you have been able to handle. Grimm is like, I can sense that you don't have your curse because my people do curses and I would be able to sense it. But he's like, I'll protect you always. And she believed him. She believed only him. What about Celeste? What about your bestie? You don't believe her? She also knows. But yeah, that's it for the chapter, and then I'm just going to turn the camera off and on again because the next chapter is also 2 pages long. And we're back for chapter 40. 40 chapters in, oh boy. Let's go. Chapter 40. Together. I don't know how you wield the heart. She feels certain that Oro and Cleo are going to find the heart, quote unquote, wield it, and then kill her because she thinks that they still have to make a sacrifice of one of the rulers. I'm so confused by any of this or how these magical items work. How do you wield a heart? She moves out with the help of her teleporting boyfriend. She moves out to the old wildling palace because only wildling power works there, and she knows that she can beat anybody in a fight, so it's just, if they can't use their powers on her, she's fine. Of course, she's like so terrified that she's about to be killed. We have no proof that anybody's coming after her. She assumes that everybody's like gunning for her, but for all she knows, they haven't spared her a single thought since she left. So because this girl can't take care of herself, apparently, Ella, her little servant friend, is still being her servant. She is risking herself, according to this, which is true, because she has to go out into this wildling forest to bring Isla food and water. Couldn't Grimm do that? He's her accomplice. No, she's got to make this poor servant girl, who is about to reach the birthday where she fucking dies, come out here and bring her stuff.
Where's my treat? I've been a very brave little girl.
Ma'am, you have a magical teleportation stick. Or did you forget? And a teleporting boyfriend. Oh, so she did have a moment with Celeste, we just didn't get to see it. Right after the betrayal, she had called Isla a fool for trusting the king, then she had pulled her into her arms, and they had cried. I mean, she's got a point. She's thinking sad thoughts, and looking through her puddles of stars at her dying friends back home, and she's like, maybe my people should be the ones who die, because they're like hanging on by a thread already, and I'm like, you know what? Probably. Wow, what a... that chapter. It's over. Nothing happened. We're told things. We're told that she moved into the old castle. We're told her servant still comes to give her food. We're told that she had a moment with Celeste, but we didn't see it. And that's just it. We're told that she's looking at her friends. She's using her magical teleportation stick to watch her friends die, but not to go get her own food. So. Also, quick magic plot hole. The author might argue, well, she can't use her teleportation stick here because only wildling power works in this castle, and this isn't a wildling relic. Except for if the power doesn't work in this castle, then how can she use it to make a puddle to watch her friends die through? Nothing makes sense. Wow, what a nothing of a chapter. Should I read one more just to have something happen? Alright, chapter 41 is called Letter. This chapter starts out with a conversation between her and Celeste, and honestly, I would have combined this conversation, I would have expanded this and made this the scene where Celeste comes to her and they have a moment and they end up hugging, and then from there then they move on to this conversation so we can see all of that and then move on to this conversation about still trying to find the bond breaker. This is supposed to be, I think, the character's like lowest moment, her dark night of the soul. Bit early, but not too early. Because she's just been so good at everything up until now, like, she's certain that she has to stay here, that she can't do anything, that the moment she steps out of this place, she's going to be set upon by assassins. She has two powerful allies in Celeste and Grimm, so I don't know why she's not just relying on them more to protect her. But also, in all of the situations where she's like faced other rulers and such, she is a better fighter. She has proved herself a better fighter. She has a magic teleportation stick that could get her out of a situation if she needed to. We don't buy that she is so desperately crushed in this situation. We as the reader are still waiting for the author to just tell us that, oh yeah, Isla has this other ability that she's totally always had this whole time that will get her out of this situation. And quite frankly, everybody was so disinterested in killing each other during the Hunger Games portion of this that I don't believe that anyone's trying to kill her. I think they just went, well, fuck her, forget about her, and they just moved on. Yeah, sure, they might try to kill her at the very end of the competition once they have found whatever MacGuffin they're looking for, but killing her now seems like it would do absolutely nothing to achieve breaking the curse, at least in Oro's understanding of what they need to do. Isla has a plan has sparked.
I've got a plan so cunning you could put a tail on it and call it a weasel.
She summons her little servant. That relationship is just so weird to me. And gives her a letter, which I think she's going to be taking to that secret-keeping bartender guy. Apparently his bar has been closed since things started, falling apart, but I guess Ella will just know where to find him. By the way, Grimm has started calling her just Heart instead of Heart Eater. because they have a beautiful relationship. Also, the author doesn't trust us to have noticed that. I did notice that, actually, thank you. I personally like to reward my readers for attentiveness. Something I like to do. I'm not saying everybody has to write like me, but I really like to have things in my book that the reader who was very savvy could be like, oh, dude, I noticed that. And the reader who's not so savvy, like if they miss that, it's not the end of the world. Like it's not something that's going to make or break the book. But in Adventurer Mage, there is a point where Maeve starts calling Valentine Val, and I don't remark upon it. He remarks upon it eventually, but the first time that she does it is chapters earlier. And then he's like, hey, by the way, you called me Val. And the attentive reader will be like, oh snap, I noticed that. And somebody who missed it, they just missed it. So I would have skipped her being like, huh, I noticed he doesn't call me Heart Eater anymore, just Heart. Because this is the second time he's done it, and we have noticed. So let us notice. It's not a make or break thing that we need to notice. You need to make sure that we notice for plot reasons. So let us notice it. This author really likes the word puddle. I haven't been pointing it out every time, of course, but like in a previous chapter, her stomach puddled. And in this one, it says, soon his armor was on the floor next to her puddle of a dress. But of course, she's just having a wet dream. She's not actually about to have sex with Grimm. Apparently she's been having a lot of them, though. She's just been very thirsty for this man. This wet dream, though, is not very titillating. Like, they get to the point where they're both taking their clothes off, and then she wakes up. Grimm shows up, though, and he brings her chocolate. Though they're the thing that they bonded over, the only thing. So she's, like, still thinking about her wet dream, and she asks, Did you send me that dream? She asked, her voice very tight. Nightshades had that ability.
Excuse me, what?
You just keep pulling abilities out of your ass, Alex asked her. Nothing is established. Next you're gonna just tell me that he always had the ability to break the curses and just hasn't felt like it until now. So she yells at him for sending her the wet dreams, and then we just cut to a different moment. Once again, a scene just stops. Bitch, they are busy. Not everything is about you. So she finally leaves the Palace of Mirrors, and she expected to find Cleo's Legion waiting, or Cleo and Oro themselves jumping at their chance to kill her. You don't think that they're busy? You don't think that they're doing something else? But she just got a letter back from the bartender, so... Also, Isla has frequently gone places in disguise, so why doesn't she disguise herself this time? Because she and Celeste go to the Agora. Now granted, everything is all like torn up and torn down and there's not very many people around, but at the same time, like, just disguise yourself like you have been. So they go to Juniper's bar. We never found out what the note was that he sent her, but presumably it was just, you come to me or something. So she and Celeste go there and they find that he is dead.
So this guy's dead?
And that somebody has written in his blood, I don't know how long ago, like they don't tell me how old this blood is. When whoever it is knows about the message that Isla left, which was try harder, she had written that in the blood of the guys who had attacked her, and the new message says hard enough, which would be very confusing for anybody else who wandered upon it. And also her bartender and chief quest giver is dead, so that sucks for her, but I'm sure she'll figure out a way out of it. That's all I'm gonna read for tonight, so I will see all of you next time for whatever chapter we're doing then. Hi, hello, we're back. It's nighttime, but don't worry because Giorgio is here. We're making some serious progress in this thing. I just posted another section of the read along and I realized like how little sense this whole thing makes. We don't really find out, I don't think, on her TikTok. Maybe if I dove deeper into her TikTok. I don't want to. But I would love to know, how was this book written? What methods did Aster use? Did she plot? Did she pants? Did she use some combination of each? Did she use any kind of beat sheets? What did she do to make this? I'm sure somebody else could make it work, but like for her, this was, however she did this, was not the way for her. But anyway, at chapter 42, Cleo, our girl Cleo. We love Cleo here, Jojo. You would love her too, don't worry. Jojo is an emperor, Cleo is a queen, they would get along. What does this mean? The island was built from hearts and bones and blood. I don't know what that means. Is she referring to Lightlark? And is she being literal? Or is she trying to be flowery and it's just failing? I have no idea what that means. Isla is certain that this is Cleo's doing, which again, Cleo's people who attacked you all but told you that they were taking matters into their own hands, but okay. So like, if this wasn't the last centennial, and Isla just hid in her people's castle for the rest of it until it was over, what would happen to her? Would she be punished for avoiding it, or would people just be like, hey, yeah, good on you, you figured out a way to not die. Back to your land you go. Like, the rules are so tenuous.
Utter crap.
She feels certain that Oro and Cleo have either already found the heart or are really close to finding it. If they already had it, you'd think they would have used it. I don't know why she thinks that the heart actually even exists. Oro could be completely wrong. This is just a tangent, but in the read-along that I have posted so far in the timeline, it's very confusing, I have gotten to the part where Oro and Isla's team up began, and Oro was like, oh, by the way, all of the animals in the forest are going to want to attack you. So I was prepared for that to happen, and that never happened. So I don't really understand why that was in there. Did the author forget? Another thread that was totally dropped is for a hot minute, for several chapters, she kept thinking about how bad she felt about stealing clothes from the tailor. That never came back up. I thought the book was reminding us of the tailor for a reason. Because, like, it wasn't making us like Isla any more than we already did. Because, like, just feeling bad about stealing those clothes kind of ran counter to everything else she was doing. Now the island is described as a pastry crumbling into the sea day by day. The sun was a running yolk. Other plot threads have long since frayed and dropped off of the vine, but not the eggs thing. Isla goes for an hour-long run, lest we forget that she's like a superb athlete. I wonder who would win if they had a race, like a marathon. Who would win, Isla or Amaris from A Night in Its Moon? I feel like Isla would win because the one time that Amaris had to do a lot of running, she immediately like almost died.
Don't say it. Don't you say it. Left.
Fun exercise for all of us. Those of you who are watching, comment below who you think would win a death battle. Amaris or Isla. Two very special girls who would win. You might be tempted to say Amaris because she has the power to control people with her voice, but guaranteed that she would forget to do that at a crucial moment, like if she was in a death battle with Isla. And Isla would likewise forget to use her star stick. Okay, this came the fuck out of nowhere. Mom, she said to the incoming darkness, I don't blame you. She spoke to her sometimes. She talks to her dead mother? She has never done that. Not one time. Look how far we are in the book. You cannot say that the character does something sometimes and have this much book go by without even just briefly mentioning it offhand. I say this to myself, I say this to people I critique, prove it. That's like one of the most important things to me as a writer. For a second she thinks of herself as weak and then she says, no, not weak. A weak ruler wouldn't have made it this far into the centennial without powers. It's like, no, never mind. I remembered that I'm awesome. Soon she would be forced out of hiding anyway for Carmel? Capital C, Carmel. The 24-hour-long celebration that took place on the 75th day. Attendance was mandatory. How are they going to make you? Lest she wished to officially take herself out of the game. At this point, why not? Why not take yourself out of the game at this point? You're hiding in a castle the whole time. Like, you're out of the game. Except for, of course, then maybe if she used the bond breaker, it wouldn't work because she's out of the game. I'm making up reasons. The book has given us nothing. But, like, if she was officially out of the game, couldn't she then do whatever she wanted? This game is so stupid and the rules are so random and arbitrary that I think she should just do whatever the fuck she feels like and screw the game. Sweat sticky on her forehead. Does your sweat get sticky? Mine usually isn't sticky. It's usually slimy. Isla just spotted Cleo in her forest, and now she's like trailing her. So now Isla decides, because the curse affects Cleo's people the least, which it does, yeah, the curse is very uneven. Wait, why didn't I think of this? But I'm the world's greatest detective. Cleo must have spun the curses because she gave herself the least damaging one. If she had that ability, why not give herself no curse at all? Like, you're reaching here, Isla. But Isla is like, OMG.
I've got it! His real name is Artie Morty.
And she's like, Juniper was trying to tell me that, and that got him killed. And I'm like, where are you getting this from, Isla? I'm sorry, we're gonna have to go back and tell her people that they sent just the dumbest bitch. Like I always say, why is it always the dumb bitches? They just sent the wrong person to this centennial. Let's logic this out. Let's bring this out to its logical conclusion. She's like, Cleo clearly made the curses and gave herself the least bad one so that no one would be suspicious that she had woven the curses. And so she wouldn't want the curses to end. Does Oro know? But like, okay. Their world is literally falling apart. If they don't solve this curse problem, Oro is going to die, which, again, we have been assured, when Lightlark dies, everything dies. Lightlark is the source of their magic. So unless Cleo has some exception to being like part of this world, she and her people, no matter how many navies they have, no matter how many 12-person legions they have, she will also die. So why would it make sense for her to want to keep the curses? And also, if she put the curses on everybody so she could like take over or something, she has done a shit job because she has had like 500 years. So no, Isla, like think about this for 10 seconds, please. She follows Cleo all the way back to Cleo's island. I do kind of wonder why the moon people, the water people, are actually the snow and ice people. Like, I don't know, that doesn't make a lot of logical sense to me, but then again, look at the book I'm reading. So she watches as Cleo comes up to a mountain, which feels like it just popped up out of nowhere because this author doesn't know how to introduce elements before the character is like right in front of them. And then Cleo just uses her ice powers to make like a hidden passage through the mountain. A secret tunnel, secret tunnel.
Secret, 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 secret tunnel, yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's a bird. The bird that flew at Isla a while back. I guess there was one animal that was against her, and it's this bird, it's the same bird, is now alerting Cleo that Isla is here. Cleo immediately waterbends and throws Isla against a wall. This author and Meg Latour actually have a lot in common. Their books are cluttered and overcomplicated with too many ideas, but also too many ideas that they have borrowed from other places. Their characters are flat and often frustrating. Their writing style is very novice. The only difference is that this one got traditionally published. But they're struggling with the same thing where they are not thinking about where things are located in their scene. If Cleo was facing the mountain and she turned around to look at Isla behind her, she would have her back to the mountain. So how would the water that she water bent at Isla make Isla slam into the mountain? I mean, Cleo, you got a point, girl. I have to admit, she said, I'm impressed by your stupidity. Me too, Cleo. Cleo also calls her a fool, and Isla thinks, though she had done foolish things, Isla was not a fool. So then we gotta have the villain, or at least the perceived villain, praising the main character a little bit. But a courageous one showing up at the Centennial without abilities, and using the skin gloves to get into the protected section of our castles, ingenious. So we can't have the bad guy not acknowledge that our main character is awesome. Also, Cleo now has, I almost called her a Mars, Isla trapped in a block of ice. I assume her little head sticking out. So Cleo is not going to finish the job for some reason. Isla's like, I know you cast the curses. And of course Cleo is like, you don't know what you're talking about. And then she's like, corpses can't talk and corpses can't break curses either, can they? Well, yes, they can. Because apparently, according to your interpretation of the rules, somebody has to die. So a corpse literally does break this curse. So you believe. But anyway, semantics aside, Cleo implies that she is going to kill Isla. She's going to leave Isla here trapped in the ice, and she said that as the night goes on, the ice will only get stronger, and Isla presumably will die from that. But why doesn't she just do it now? She's doing that villain thing, you know, where they leave
Step, boom, twang, thunk, splat.
I wonder if we're going to find out where Cleo was going, why she was making her secret tunnel through the mountain.
Get used to disappointment.
Okay, here's a new bit of lore. New piece of lore just dropped. Once a ruler has children, they begin to age. Because these people, like, don't age. They live a super long time. But once you have children, you begin to age normally. Well, normally, like we do in our world. That's super fucking random. I guess it's so that the magic carries down. It's very confusing. Is there limited magic? Is there unlimited magic? But like the more family members you have alive, the more spread out your magic is.
What are the rules? What are the rules?
She finally remembers that Grimm gave her a necklace that she could touch if she was in danger, but of course she's frozen with her hands down, so she can't reach it. She's like, maybe I can just bap it with my chin. But she fails to bap the necklace with her chin, and she resigns herself to death, stuck in a block of ice to the side of a mountain. Which is really, I feel, a fitting end. You know, there's so much book left, but killing off your main character this far before the ending, really a masterstroke. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the camera and turn it back on for chapter 43, Lies. Welcome back for chapter 43. That last chapter was actually like more than 4 pages long, which is impressive for this book. But I think we're back to form with Lies. So Isla awakens to somebody trying to free her from the ice, but it's not somebody friendly. It seems like somebody who might want to eat her. They're talking about how beautiful she is, unmistakably beautiful, but also that they're gonna like eat her or burn her hair and inhale the smoke to make us beautiful again. Trapped like a rat in honey? You mean like an ant in honey? Rats can escape honey easily, so they do free her from the ice, but she's like so cold and paralyzed that she still can't reach for her necklace, of course. She thinks she hears that bird, that weird bird that's now a thing. The smell of stars shattering something nearby. What the fuck does that smell like? Somebody saves her, so I don't even know if we're gonna find out who these people were that grabbed her, snagged her. Cleo's just really into mazes. So Oro's going to explain why he did the betray. And he says he needed Cleo specifically to get into a place on her island that he couldn't have accessed otherwise. It had been encased in a maze centuries before to keep others out. So, ice, water, military, and mazes. Those are the things that Cleo is into. She realizes that she's in Oro's room on his bed. Sexy, I guess, probably, or something. Yeah, also, we are not finding out who those people were that were gonna try to eat her. Her eyes were frozen shut, so she never even saw them. So why not just have Oro rescue her from the ice? I don't understand why we had to have that interlude with cannibals, witches, somebody. Maybe they're gonna come up later. Maybe they're gonna come back. Of course, the heart wasn't in the maze.
You have 13 hours in which to solve the labyrinth before your baby brother becomes one of us forever.
But he had just finished looking for it when he encountered Isla being stolen by ... But now there's only 2 places left to search, I guess. This bird is suddenly like a really big plot point. We mentioned it one other time, and now Isla's like, it's Cleo's spy. She keeps thinking about it. It was messing with her and the cannibals before. Like, the bird is suddenly a main character. Personally, if this bird is going to be important, I would have had him, like, sitting on her balcony the day that she was singing. Just, like, sprinkle in little sightings of this bird all through the story. Because I suspect that this bird is going to be important in some way with all of this egg imagery going around. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just another fleeting thing, like that time she was really guilty about the tailor. Of course, it's that classic, I had to hurt you so you would act realistically. Even though I'm sure Oro doesn't know, but I'm positive that Isla is also a trained and amazing actor. So if he had told her all of this, she would have totally been able to convince everyone. He didn't need to hurt her feelings. But yeah, that's why he did it. That's the classic, I had to hurt you so that you would react predictably and no one would suspect that we were friends.
Utter crap.
Oro says that Cleo has decided that Celeste, the starling, is the one that they should sacrifice. And of course, Isla is like, not me, because everything in the world revolves around me. And Oro's like, no, not you. Think about it. The starlings have, like, fruit fly lives compared to ours. Their realm is tiny and struggling. So yeah, it makes the most sense. Honestly, I don't know why they haven't thought of this until now. Oro disagrees. He says starling is essential. I'm not sure essential for what. He also says that he betrayed Isla's secret so Cleo wouldn't kill Celeste. He wanted to redirect Cleo onto Isla and be like, no, never mind, Isla's the weakest. And I'm like, that's not actually helping your case, buddy. That's basically like, I sicked my new partner on my old partner. Everything he said sounded logical. Listen here, book. You can't just tell us that it sounded logical if it sounds like complete bullshit like always. So he reveals his super secret random power that he has, his flair. And his flair is he always knows when people are lying, which would have been a really helpful thing to know. Just in general.
Once again, things that could have been brought to my attention yesterday!
Apparently Cleo was just like, she's just such a catty bitch, which is not a vibe that I've actually gotten from her. She just seems very standoffish. But anyway, apparently she's just such a catty bitch that seeing Isla look so sad and betrayed, like, filled her with joy. And she's like, cool, Oro, I will take you anywhere you want to go because you made that one sad, and that makes me pleased for some reason. Men need to stop following her and treating it like it's adorable, like it's a good thing. Because she's like, well, Cleo could have killed me then. And he's like, oh, I had you watched and guarded and followed, and everywhere you went, I went the entire time. And I'm like, that's not actually as charming as you think it is, good sir.
Well, we got a new dance, so get up on your feet. It's real easy to do, and it's called the creep.
He says Cleo is forming a secret legion. Don't worry, dude. The legion is like 12 people. They all fit in a hallway. I mean, she already admitted to you that she has a navy. Like, I think she's actually being pretty open about her militaristic side. So Oro's like, hey, yes, I want to keep my promise. If we find the heart, you can still claim the victory. And she's like, fine. We'll go back to being allies. But if you cross me again, I really will eat your heart. And that's the end of the chapter. The next one is called Carmel. But yeah, that's what's happening next. So I feel like Oro's just made a huge mistake because now he's endangering both Celeste and Isla. And also, we learn that Isla, the only reason Isla's been safe this entire time was because Oro was having her guarded. So, like, she could have been, if he hadn't been doing that, would she have just been killed? I mean, she does have super ninja skills and is amazing with the blade, so probably not. But still, through no effort of her own, she was perfectly fine and safe. Alright, I'm done reading for the night, everyone. I'll see you next time for whatever the next chapter turns out to be. So I had another super random thought. Forgive the lighting. Had another super random thought today while I was talking to my husband about whether my book is a hard or soft magic system and thinking about Lightlark and what a clusterfuck it is. And I realized that I think one of the reasons that the world building is such a disaster is because this author kind of did it backwards. Rather than coming up with a world and then figuring out what things could happen in the world, she decided on the things that were going to happen and then tried to make a world around them. Even if the things didn't go together, even if they didn't make any sense, she's just backfilling. Now, sometimes that does happen. As we're writing, we might have a cool event that we want to happen, and so we have to go, how can I make this work in my world? How can I justify this? Yeah, that happens every now and then. But I feel like this book is all that. Only that. And when you do it that way, all you end up with is this giant mess, mega confusing world and magic system, what you end up with is Lightlark.
You look so cute, Jojo. You're sitting there like a little queen that you are.
Hello and welcome back. I need to read some of this thing because y'all are catching up to me. But we are getting near the end of the book, so pretty soon I'm gonna have to figure out what the heck my cosplay is gonna be. Is it gonna leave us on a cliffhanger and not even solve the curses? Like, I think this is gonna be a series. I went to look on Goodreads, and there is supposed to be a book 2. It hasn't got a cover, it hasn't got anything yet, so I think we're in a holding pattern for book 2. I mean, it definitely seems like Alex barely had the idea for book 1, so I don't know how we're gonna get a book 2 out of this, but if it sold enough copies, it won't matter. We will get a book 2, and I will read it. This has been my most successful read-along, I think, ever. Yeah, my read-alongs that have been here a long time, like, accumulate a lot of views over time, but, like, these have been getting, for me, good views, like, the first couple of weeks, which is impressive. So, like, I feel comfortable saying right now that I will read book 2 for you all. Let's go. Chapter 44, Carmel. Isla is still certain that Celeste caused the curses because Isla has no critical thinking skills. Why does it even have to be any of you that caused the curses? Maybe the person that caused the curse is dead. You don't know. Maybe the person who caused the curse is encased in ice somewhere. It could be anything. Maybe it was one of the bug people. Yeah, okay, at least Celeste has 2 brain cells to rub together, because she's like, if you think about this for a few seconds, it doesn't make any sense. Having a side character point out that your main character is dumb, and then just having it say, Isla had been thinking the same thing, does not cover your ass. So now I'm curious what sort of, like, arrangement Celeste has made for her own safety, because Isla's like, hey, Cleo wants you dead, and Celeste is like, everybody wants me dead. Of course, nobody's trying to kill anybody. A bartender died. No, where's this death game? Okay, we were promised a death game. We were promised that at this point, it was no holds barred. It was the Hunger Games, and that is not happening. Why is the death thing even here? Oh, now the girls think that there's a hidden library. They've looked in all the other libraries, taking up a hefty portion of this book with nothingness, and now she's like, there's a hidden library. I know it. Not a treasure vault, not a secret cave. Library. And she's like, Oro will feel guilty because he told your secret to everyone, so you can now ask him where his secret library is and he'll have to tell you. I love that the island is literally falling down around everyone's ears and they still haven't thought of collaboration. But Oro was bound to the rules of the Centennial with his life. Since when? Who made these rules? I thought it was you guys. And why is he bound to them with his life? Where did this come from? The Carmel is a 24-hour carnival meant to celebrate the last quarter of the Sentinel. You know, when everybody's supposed to be killing each other, I guess? Let's have a party. And apparently all of the peasantry who have been in hiding since the island started falling apart are just like, cool, we'll come out for the carnival anyway. Your rulers are doing the world's shittiest job of solving the problem that now very much affects your day-to-day life, and you're still gonna come out here and throw them a big party? Because without these people, this carnival wouldn't happen. You think Oro's gonna put together a carnival by himself, by hand? I don't think so. Something that viewers have rightly pointed out is that one of the many reasons that this book fails to hold up to the Hunger Games is because this author wants us to root for the capital. This author wants us to root for the rich, established, wealthy elite who have rich, established, wealthy elite problems, instead of a very relatable poor girl who's just trying to survive and feed her family. But she's still trying to treat it as though Isla is like an underdog and suffering, even though Isla is not that. And she is just sort of a slightly more downtrodden version of President Snow at this point. And of course, already the main character is skipping things because we are just cruising right along. So she skipped the picnic at the beginning of the day. Not that I really wanted to watch the picnic, but it always strikes me how this author just like skips over everything. And apparently there were festivities on the eastern side of the mainland. We don't even find out what those were. Yeah, I don't think you can save Terra anymore at this point. Terra is like being literally reabsorbed into the earth and flowers are growing out of her head. I think it's too late for Terra. Just a reminder, Terra being one of Isla's teachers slash torturers who is slowly dying of plants. Or maybe dead mentor-itis, which we all know that fantasy books are famous for. One day of rest, she told herself, then she would find the heart and get everything she wanted. This would mean a lot more if the character hadn't spent so many days doing nothing throughout the course of this book. 5 days would pass without any word of what the character was doing because, again, the author decided to have 100 days in this thing. That's too many. She's also back in the castle, back in her old room, status quo completely restored. One thing this author doesn't miss a beat doing is describing Isla's sexy dresses. Apparently you are required to go to this, but Isla only intends to spend a few minutes. So she goes to the party for about 10 minutes and she helps herself to one drink, which I guess was roofied. I'm assuming she's not just that much of a lightweight. And she's like staggering back into the castle and pulling off like bits of her dress. So she drunkenly stumbles into Oro, and of course she's like all giddy and flirty with him. Is this going to be like, did this author want to have a drunken confession trope and got her character drunk on one glass of wine? So now she starts singing around him. She's like full on, completely drunk. And it turns out that the drink is called Haze, and I guess it just, I'm assuming just does this to you, but like what a cheap way to get your character super drunk so she can have like the drunken moment where he has to carry her home and everything without making her drink a lot of alcohol, because that would be like a character flaw. So he takes her back to her room and she's like, stay, I'll make us some tea, and she's already acting less drunk, so I'm kind of curious why we like got her drunk in the first place. So maybe I do understand it. The only way that she could have her main character act like a nice, decent human being was if she was intoxicated, because she's just hanging out with Oro now. The vibe is a little bit like best friendsy, but she's just hanging out with him, drinking tea, just like chatting, and the conversation is a little bit stilted and a little bit clunky. Obviously, this author just kind of struggles with dialogue and banter, but you know, it's two characters actually talking to each other as though they don't hate each other, so like I'll take any port in a storm. But Oro says, I have a lot of guilt that keeps me awake, and then it says guilt, she knew the word immediately. And I know it's supposed to mean that she like knew where he was coming from, but it just sounds like she's like, hey, guilt, I know that word. And then she just like flops down with her head in his lap, and they're just totally having an adorable moment, I guess. And the scene just ends. She fell asleep. When she wakes up though, he is still there. He's just asleep and she's still laying on his lap. I imagine this is supposed to be more meaningful because she had remarked that he hadn't been sleeping, and now he's sleeping because she's there. And this relationship, this deep bond that they totally have, just believe me, is so strong. So she remembers that before she fell asleep, she heard him laughing, not meanly, and she says that she's never before heard his true laugh, and I was like, cool, what did that sound like? What's his true laugh like? It doesn't tell us. She's always ripping up her clothing around this guy. First that shirt and now her dress. She's just like, too much clothes. At least around Oro, if she removes clothing, she's not going to freeze to death like she would with Grimm. By the way, we've kind of forgotten that Grimm existed. Like, we haven't really thought about him too much recently.
You look ever so similar to each other, you know. It's quite eerie.
Look, did you tell him to be here or not?
I did. You just seem to keep missing each other. I can't imagine why.
So Oro goes back to the party. Like, they have a moment, and then he goes back to the party. And then a little later, Isla hears a knock on her door, and it's Ella, her servant. And Ella's like, someone's been attacked. And I'm like, good, fuck, it's about time. And it turns out it was Celeste. So, bum, cliffhanger. And we will continue in chapter 45, called Vanished. But we do talk about patrons. Patrons like Ronnie, Jojo Bookish, Lauren, Robin, Ursula, Caitlin, Jessica, KJ, LaFone, Amanda, Unicorn Jenny, Celia, Neon, Taya, Alyssa, Rita, Deborah, Afra, Melissa, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Merween, Kit, Hidden Glade, Light Julie, Belle, Patrick, Anne Sophie, Callison, Ray, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, and Sarah. Wow, I'm feeling super blessed right now, you guys, to have so many amazing patrons. Jealous? You should be. So I've gotten a few new patrons lately, which is super, super exciting. And you guys probably know by now that new patrons can get a special shout out where I will shout out their blogs, vlogs, books, whatever they have that they want me to shout out. But sometimes they don't have anything for me to shout out, and Lauren just wanted me to shout out myself. But I decided, you know what, I'm going to pay it forward. There's another artist, a friend of mine, Conquer Thy Fear Studios, who does some really great work. He's primarily a 2D artist, but he's been working on a comic, like his Heart comic, for a while, and he's been doing some instructional videos on YouTube. His channel is still really small, so obviously I will link you if you're interested. Go check him out.
It doesn't look that far.
It's further than you think. Time is short. You have 13 hours in which to solve the labyrinth before your baby brother becomes one of us forever.